It is one of the most ancient blessings, although the book of Numbers in which we find it probably dates to about the middle of the 6th century BC, or somewhere around 587 BC or after, the time of the Babylonian exile. The words themselves almost certainly come from a much earlier time in Israel's history, and only recorded in their present form when the book of Numbers was finally assembled from older traditions. Its very age, and the fact that it is still being used today, attests to its great power to comfort and reassure the people of God in all manner of circumstances. It continues to comfort us today. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, March 12th, 2022. The book of Numbers records a conversation between God and Moses, in which Moses is commanded to instruct Aaron and his sons to say these words over the people of Israel. Here's what Aaron and his descendants are instructed to say. "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Okay, so we know these words, and they do indeed provide us a sense of comfort and assurance, if only because we've heard them so many times before. But what do they actually mean? Actually, the language is pretty straightforward and specific. First, notice that each phrase begins with the Lord. 3 times the divine name is used. In Hebrew, the word here is Yahweh, the name God uses when Moses asks God who he should say is giving all the commandments to the people of Israel. Yahweh is literally a form of the verb to be. God says to Moses, "I am that I am." And even this can be translated in a variety of ways. I am who I am, or I will be what I will be. The idea is that God is the source of all being. So why don't we just use the term Yahweh? Yahweh bless you and keep you. Why do we say instead, "The Lord bless you and keep you"? Well, it goes back to ancient Jewish practice. Without getting too far into the weeds, Jews have always believed that saying someone's name gives us a bit of power over the one whose name we use. But we have no power over God. God is too holy for that, so we don't use the name of God. Instead, in Hebrew, even when the letters of the name Yahweh appear in the text, Jews almost always use the alternate term Adonai, which we translate as the Lord. The bottom line is that this blessing is a blessing in which God, the Lord, is the one acting to bring blessing. As for the specific blessings, there are several: blessing, keeping, shining, grace, face lifted up, peace. This is a powerful set of blessings. Now, we've almost completely lost what the word blessing in the Old Testament meant. Blessing usually referred specifically to land and descendants. So to say "the Lord bless you" meant the Lord provide the material blessings of land and descendants, which were the very stuff of life and of longevity. The Lord keep you. This is pastoral language at its best. It's what a shepherd does with sheep. We think of keeping things in the sense of owning or possessing things. But it's not really so much about ownership as it is about protection. The Lord keep you from harm is the real meaning of it. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. Think Moses' face when he came down from the mountain with the tablets of the law. Having been in God's very presence, the skin of his face is said to have shined. When the Old Testament talks about the glory of God, it's a specific reference to the light of God's presence breaking into darkness. Remember when the Israelites escaped from Egypt? God's presence was a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. For God's face to shine upon us is to be God's presence with us at all time. The Lord be gracious to you. What can I say? God's grace is everything. But in the way the blessing is structured grammatically, God's grace is parallel to the shining of God's face. So the grace of God is the substance of what it means to dwell in God's presence. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you. We all know what it is and what it's like to disappoint someone. We can literally see their face fall a little bit. But for one's face to be lifted up is to be the subject of someone else's pride. It's like saying someone's face is beaming. In this context, for God's face to be lifted up to us is for God to take notice of us and to have joy and pride in us. The Lord give you peace. Peace, shalom, wholeness. Peace in this sense is so much more than the absence of conflict, which is what we usually think about when we think of peace. It's more like a sense of complete and total satisfaction, complete contentment. We've all experienced this feeling from time to time, but imagine living with this sense of peace at all time, this sense of contentment every moment of our days. That's powerful. So the next time you hear these words, think on these things. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace from this time forth and forevermore. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.